Truth Talks. Please, I'm excited about the Truth Talks. They are addressing true fellowship and what it means, what true fellowship and corporate worship looks like according to the Bible.
I will sing to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown.
Well, I'm glad that y'all read Judges chapter 9, so I can just read the verses that y'all just go ahead and take on with the guys' discussion. Now, we pretty much got the story of the book of Judges, I think. You just keep repeating itself. The different judges, different generations. It's getting worse and worse. I think right now, if we would have stopped Judges last week, we pretty much know if a pastor stand in front of you and say, go to the book of Judges, we pretty much know what we should be getting. Okay, so just give you a heads up. What I'm going to do tonight is we're going to finish 9. If we have a little time, we're going to 10. But after we do 9, since we pretty much got the book, okay, I'm going to go to chapter 13 through 16. That's Samson. So we'll be done covered all the judges except for Japheth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if y'all want to do Japheth, which I encourage you to, and to go ahead and read the rest of the book. You don't have to read it like now, but sometime in the future, go ahead and read the rest of the book. I know some of you have probably already read the whole book, which is good. But get a chance, go back and study. So, and the reason why I want to at least get 13 through 16, because when people say the book of Judges, they usually don't think of well, they usually think of three judges. Who is that? Barak and Deborah,
and
right?
Samson.
And Gideon
and Samson.
And Samson. That's all they really know. And so I just went through the rest of them to let you know that Judges is important and the rest of the people should be studied. So I've really enjoyed this study. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I've actually learned something. You know, I've actually learned something in this book. I've studied it in a way since I've been doing this that I had not studied it. Just goes to show, you know, I was telling Brother Dennis tonight that we as pastors haven't studied every verse in the Bible. We may have read it, but to do detailed study, you know, this is something we do as pastors too. And proof text that the Bible said, study to show yourself approved. It's talking to pastors, but also it's extended to the rest of the church. He who labors in the word, study, is worthy of double honor. So that means that that's some labor that pastors still do. So I'm right there with you. I know sometimes you get tired, but I'm gonna tell you, when you look back a couple of years from now and you know what you know, and you see the sovereignty of God at work, you really thank God for giving you the strength to that time of just sitting down and going through the books, okay? And those of you who are studying and getting ready can appreciate what I'm talking about, okay? All right. Let's look at chapter 9, and we're going to grab some verses in chunks tonight and hopefully get through this here. And I want to get a reader. You got your King James tonight? Okay, because when I get to one of the verses, I want you to make sure you read it out of there because it's got some strong languages for one of them. Okay, if I can get a read in Judges chapter 9, good to see you, brother, sister. Verses 1 through 3. Now, before we get started here, Abimelech is one of Gideon's sons. And I told y'all at the end of at the end when Gideon gets ready to go away, I told you he was the first judge. They went into apostasy while the judge was still alive. This man went and married different wives, talking Gideon, okay, and he had concubines. He had a lot of sons, okay. Also, he built a ephod and had it at his house. They wanted him to be a ruler, and he said, no, God is your ruler, God is your king. And he looked and saw all the stuff that they had from the wars, and they gave it to him. So he was kind of one of them characters that, he didn't want to be in charge, but he wasn't always straight either. Okay. Okay. Chapter 9, verse 1 through 3, if I can get a read.
Reading out of ASV.
Mm-hmm.
And Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, went to Shechem to his mother's relatives and spoke to them and to the whole clan of the household of his mother's father, saying, speak now in the hearing of all the leaders of Shechem, which is better for you,
Mm.
that 70 men, all the sons of Jerubbaal, rule over you, or that one man rule over you. Also remember that I am your bone and your flesh. Verse 3, and your mother's relatives spoke all these words, and his mother's relatives spoke all these words on his behalf in the hearing of all the leaders of Shechem, and they were inclined to follow Abimelech. So they said, he is our relative.
So this man is a son of one of Gideon's
Concubines.
concubines,
Mhm.
not his wife. Okay.
Mhm.
He devises a scheme to rule over the nation by going to his mother's relatives. He must be a mama's boy. And they spoke on his behalf. Huh? Well, the thing about it is,
Blood is thicker than
did they have 70 other rulers, or he just put it in their head?
you talking about the 70 other rulers. He's talking about
The
the
70 other
70, the
brothers.
70 sons.
Yeah, or did he just put that in their head? Were they looking for a ruler and they was
No, they weren't
contemplating
looking
on
for-
making them one, or he just kind of put that in their head? You better do this before you do that.
Mhm.
I don't know. What do y'all think?
Well, go ahead.
Anytime now, my choice would be, okay, I'm not gonna fight between 70 people, I just take one. The other thing is,
Okay.
I mean, that would be my choice.
Okay.
And if not unless they had some problem with Abimelech, which it turns out they didn't. They
Okay.
chose Abimelech.
And by him being Gideon's son, he probably knew about them trying to make Gideon ruler. So he
Yes.
probably knew they were looking for a ruler. And he probably was thinking maybe that they would probably go to one of Gideon's sons and have them rule. So he decided he's just gonna step up, and since he's the son of Gideon, he wants to be the king.
Other thing, he killed 70. No, his
We
brother.
get
Right,
that.
we're gonna get to that.
We're
Not
gonna
only
get that.
that he did it, that's a good point. Keep that in mind. Because not only he did it, and we see this on the way.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna talk about how he did it though. Live by the sword, you die by the sword, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thought. And we're gonna talk about ambition in a minute, which is nothing wrong with ambition, as long as it's God given. Okay. Now, Abimelech, what's his name mean? Now, Gideon decided he didn't want to be king, but he names his son Abimelech. Maybe this is in his head. It means son of a king. Why would you name your son Abimelech? And the meaning of it is son of a king. And you didn't want to be a ruler. Are you trying to be a ruler in a kind of like behind the scene? Maybe that's why you gave your son that name. I don't know. It might be just one of them things that just happened.
Well, it's like you said, Gideon says, I'm not going to rule. God is your ruler. Okay. So the thought might have been there, but yet he was trying to obey what God has, God said, I'm all they need.
Right.
Okay.
And maybe he said that, but in his heart, he was acting as a king.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be a king, but give me all this stuff you got here. And what did he do? I can say I don't want to be the pastor, but at the same time, I can be running around here acting like I'm the pastor. Huh? Yeah, you don't want the full responsibility. So maybe Abimelech feel because they asked Gideon to be a ruler, and maybe because of his name, and I don't know for sure, the scripture doesn't say, maybe he thinks he deserved to be king.
Well, Abimelech,
Abimelech.
yeah, whatever. He had, like you said, ambition.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He had ambition because why? Again, he goes to his relatives on mama's side, not to his step brothers, as you would say, his
Mhm.
half brothers over here, right? Because he's going against those half brothers. He wants to wipe them out, eventually going to wipe them out.
Mm-hmm.
So he is going to someone that, because it says right here, verse, what's it say? It says right there in verse 2, it says, in my version, it says, remember that I am your own flesh and bone.
Mm-hmm.
Blood is thicker than water, but yet his blood is thicker with them than it is with the 69 other brothers.
And they'd probably have anyway because of the fact that he's on their side and that he'll be the ruler.
That's exactly what,
Yeah.
why he went to that side, to his mother's side.
Okay. So he won them over, seemed like probably, right? Let's read verse 4 right quick and we'll move on to verse 5.
So they gave him 70 shekels of silver from the temple of
Their
Baal,
birth, right?
right?
Which is a false god.
Right.
So they're in the temple of a false god,
Mhm.
and he's talking like this, and they give him silver
Seven.
from it.
So you already got a problem there already.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. 70 to cover the 70 brothers. Okay. Let's go this way. With which Abimelech hired worthless, reckless men.
Fellas, or what do you call them?
Men.
Okay, worthless men,
reckless
fellas.
men. And they followed him.
So now we see he's coming in as king. They giving reckless or worthless man to him. They got this money where he probably can pay them. And now he's got his army. I think what you said he had in mind the whole time. Okay, because he have to get somebody to help him do this here.
So he kind of, what do you call
In
that?
private part.
Premeditated,
Yeah. Now,
planned it.
what you said right now, Abimelech's probably the only one that knows what he's thinking.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Okay, because I'm quite sure he hadn't got this far to chapter 5, verse 5, and told him what he's going to do. He's going to train this man, and he got it in the mother's head, got it in the relative's head, and they go to the temple of their god, take money or treasures and give it to him. Just be careful when someone comes to you with an idea that seemingly be too good. You know,
And back during that time too, the fathers favored the wives, his wife's son over his concubine's son.
Yes.
Unless he said different.
right? And
There were some cases where he said different, but
that's a
it
good
was
point.
common
Yeah.
common knowledge and custom that one of his own sons.
Right,
his
right.
Wife's sons.
And
Now, see, you being Abimelech, you've been thinking like that.
and
Of
because,
course.
Yeah. Not you. I'm gonna just say, yeah. Abimelech probably was thinking just like that.
Yeah.
I don't have a chance. So I got to bring the voice to them. They wasn't looking for Abimelech.
no.
He went to them.
Mhm. He went to them, and like I said, there, the father favors his wife's sons, which would be the oldest son, would be the first in line.
Yep.
Because as you can see here, there's going to be a leftover here in a minute. Go ahead.
All right. Looking good. Looking good. Anytime you want to get in, Andy, let us know. Okay. All right. Verse 5.
Go ahead, Andy.
I'm
Man.
reading out of King James. And he went unto his father's house at Oprah and slew his brethren, the sons of Jerubbaal, being 70 persons, upon one stone. Notwithstanding yet, Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, was left, for he hid himself.
Okay. He killed his brothers. Wanting power is nothing new, even to this day. This is the first time from Genesis to now that they had a mass slaughter mentioned in the Bible like this from relatives, infighting. Okay? Where did this happen before when someone wanted power like this here? And they just went totally against God. Genesis 3,
Genesis 3.
they want to be like God.
Mm-hmm.
Acts, Simeon,
Mm-hmm.
saw what they did by the Holy Spirit. He was willing to buy it. Let us look at John, 3 John, verse 1 through 10. Yeah.
Yeah,
That close to Revelation.
3 John. 1 John, 2 John. and-
Hey, you know, pastors make mistakes now. My wife, you said, ain't nobody else gonna correct you, but your wife will. 3 John
We were confused too, though.
9 and 10.
Now,
They ain't been back there
why
so
you
long.
doing that now? It said he slaughtered 70 of them, right?
He started 69, so the youngest can hear.
But.
No, he had more than 70.
He's,
It said,
read it back, it
three-
says 70.
no, well, it says every score is 20.
Right,
So it says 3 and 10.
right, that's 70.
That's 70.
The youngest was the 71st or whatever son got away is the one that hit himself.
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay, so,
First
no, this is
3
another,
John?
yeah, this is another character that people like this will have. Okay, now I told you I was gonna make this transparent to
There
the
you go.
church.
Thank you.
Okay, verse 9 and 10.
9 and 10?
Yeah, now look at the writer, what he says here.
I wrote to the church, but the Diotrephes,
Where we at here? Let me help you with that.
yeah, you need to help me with that one.
Diotrephes,
Diotrephes,
Diotrephes, yeah.
who loved to have his preeminence among them.
Got it? He wants to be first. Yeah, okay,
Among
this
them
sound like Abimelech,
does-
right?
Yep. Does not receive us. Therefore, if I come, I will call to mind his deeds, which he does, prating against us with malicious words, and not content with that, not content with that, he himself does not receive the brethren and forbid those who wish to, pulling them out of the church.
This man spoke against the apostles.
Mhm.
He wants to be first.
Mm.
You know,
Pretty
here's
good.
someone in the church that wants to be first. It's nothing new. Abimelech wants to be first. You know, read that out of the King James for me. Listen at these words in the King James.
I wrote unto the church, but Diotrephes, who loveth to have preeminence among them, receives us not. Wherefore I come, I will remember his deeds, which he doeth, prating against us with malicious words, and not content therewith. Neither doth he himself receive the brethren, and forbidden them that would, and casteth them out of the church.
Anybody who supports the apostles, you go against them. This is a person who just talks against the leadership in the church because they can't be first,
Mm.
or they can't get what they want. Think about Abimelech. This is a person who loved to have preeminence, who wants to be supreme, who wants to be above everybody else, who wants to be recognized, who wants some control in the church. He wants possession, and they want a name for themselves. This was Abimelech. You know, this goes on today. As I said, I think last week or week before, whole church has been burnt down for this same thing. This man has killed his brothers because he wanted a name for himself. And he wanted to be first. And it's not that his brothers was already kings or rulers. He was doing it to prevent it. Because like you said, they was the one, if anybody, would have had the rights to it. It reminded me of Harriet.
I get ready to say that's exactly what it is.
What did Harriet do? Who did he kill?
Oh, he killed everybody in line.
He's already king.
Right.
He killed his own mother,
Mm-hmm.
his own brothers. He was so possessed about his powder keg he was sitting on because he got in there in that seat, and he knew Old Testament prophecy, and he knew a king was coming. He was so possessive, he said that I know there's not going to be any crying or sorrow at my death. He was a hated man. And so he gave them a list of everybody who he wanted them to kill at his death. So if they want mourn for him, it'll be mourning at his death. I don't know if they ever carried that out or not. And so Harriet hadn't done nothing new.
Eminent.
Yeah.
And none of these people are doing anything new. Solomon exhorts that there's nothing new under the sun, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we really have to, by God's Spirit, be discerning. Because this money, this startup money, I like to call it, that they gave them to start this, it said it came from the Temple of Baal.
Mhm.
So we kind of touched on that, but we have to be, anything you start a certain way, BJ, I always think about your message. You can't start something ungodly and expect it to end godly. When he says there rose a generation who did not know the Lord, everything
Mhm.
after that is downhill. But he says right here,
What verse?
Peter just went out on me. You in 3 John, and it says, who loves to be first among them. We know that term to be preeminence,
Mhm.
right? We know that, and we're not even talking about 3 John, but
Mhm.
we know one of the greatest issues that we have enemy-wise is not outside the church, it's within the body. We have to be cautious.
And not just being first, but the primary one.
Primary one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
and other thing you
first
said,
and primary.
and
Yeah.
the other thing you said was make a name for themselves. When I
Yeah.
was saying nothing to do with the Son, think about the Tower of Babel. That's the reason why they did that. They wanted to, it says they wanted to make a name
Mhm.
for themselves. So we just have to really be cautious, not only first of our own motives, right? And also make sure we're holding each other accountable for making sure that our motives are godly.
Yes.
It was still part of the depravity, and they still wanted this power. It's like a godlike syndrome. They wanted to control and rule over everything.
Yeah, now his ambition for himself kind of grew over the other people, like Omari just said. They also want to make a name for themselves.
Right.
Okay, like at the Tower of Babel. And churches could be the same way.
Mhm.
We just want a name for themselves. You guys see some of the names of the churches? They just want to make a name for themselves, you know. So that ugliness, whenever you see this type of action, it just continues to get very, very ugly.
Mhm.
You know, even in the church, if we're not wise enough to notice it. And like it says in 3 John, he says, when I come there, I'm gonna straighten this out.
Mhm.
We need to nip it in the bud, you know, not just here, but anywhere. We need to nip it in the bud when we see it. Instead of just turning our head the other way and act like it'll go away. Certain things just don't go away. Abimelech just didn't go away.
No, he didn't go away.
He got somebody to side with him, and they was worthless fellows, as this reckless fellows, as the NASB says. Yeah,
And see, his brothers, his half brothers on his mother's side, they did it because they knew they were looking at good for themselves,
right.
not any more or anything, but good. What was going to be good for them.
Everybody on that side would have been like bastard relatives.
Mhm.
That's what Abimelech was. And so if we can get this bastard son to lead, then we got somebody in charge.
Mhm.
All right. Verse 6, we'll see the results. All the men of Shechem and all Beth Merel assembled together, and they went and made Abimelech king by the oak of the pillar which was in Shechem. So he's in charge now. Okay, made him a king. Verse 7. Now when they told Jotham, he went and stood on the top of Mount Gerizim, and he lifted his voice and called out, thus he said to them, listen to me, O men of Shechem, that God may listen to you. Anybody familiar with Mount Gerizim?
It's in Deuteronomy.
Anybody familiar with what happened on that mountain?
When that we received the 10 Commandments.
Let's go to it. Deuteronomy
11,
27,
27.
12, and 13. Now, in verse 5, it says one of the brothers got away. This is Jotham, okay?
Mhm. He said Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy 27, 12. Now, from verses 7 through 15, which we're going to read, okay? he's pronouncing a curse on Abimelech.
Mhm.
And I want to show you Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal. But it's strange that he stands on Mount Gerizim and does what he do. Because Mount Gerizim is the mountain that they stood on and spoke and pronounced blessing.
Mhm. Before
He's standing on Mount Gerizim here and pronouncing curse. Mount Ebal was the mountain they stood on and pronounced curse.
curse.
So basically, he's saying, Abimelech, if you'd have just not did this, look what all you could have. So he stands on the mountain that pronounced blessings and pronounced curses. Read Deuteronomy 27, 12 and 13.
These shall stand on Mount Gershom to bless the people. When you have crossed over the Jordan, Simeon, Levite, Judah,
You can just kind of
Issachar,
skip over the names, just going down, just skip over the names.
children of Benjamin. Okay, and we're down to 14.
Are you still in 12?
I'm still in 12. I just got 12. I'm going to 13. And these shall stand on the mountain of Ebal, the curse. Reuben, Gad, Asher.
That's
Zeke.
good. So you see, one is for blessing, one is for cursing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's standing on the mount of blessing, and then we're going to read from verse 18 to 15. Now, this is a parable. This is the first parable that most scholars call. So he's going to stand on the mount, and he's going to speak to the people and speak to Abimelech. Now, have everybody read this parable? Anybody have not read the parable? Anybody don't understand the parable? That right here that he read. So all of us understand the parable, right?
Which one? The 18?
18 to 15. Everybody understand?
We're going to read that. No,
You don't understand it?
No.
Okay. Well,
I'll speak out.
Andy do. Andy do. So he gonna explain it to you.
Okay, Andy, you got it?
You don't understand the parable? All right then.
Okay.
All right
Start at
then.
18?
Well, Gaynell do, don't you, Gaynell?
Start at 18?
Okay. Everybody listen at this here, okay? You're standing on the mountain. Okay, we're gonna go from 18 to 15, and then we're gonna talk about it, okay? It's
18?
very interesting, yeah.
Are you
I'm
talking
about
about?
8 to 15, verse 8 to 15. Okay, listen at this parable, okay? Okay, now we're Judges 9, verse 8 to 15. All right, go ahead.
The tree once went forth to anoint the king over them.
It says the trees, right?
Mhm.
It's got an S on it,
Right, the trees were there.
okay? The trees went forth to do what?
Anoint
Okay,
the king over them. And they said to the olive tree, reign over us. Okay, I'm done. I know what's going on here.
What?
I'm done. I know what's going on here. Okay, let's read this rest of verse 9.
now let me ask y'all a question. Do y'all want me to talk about it at each tree, or you want to read the whole parable?
Just
Toss.
Read the whole thing?
Just sum it up.
Okay, go ahead. Read the whole thing.
But the olive tree said to them, should I cease giving my oil, with which to honor God and men, and go to sway over the trees? Then the tree said to the fig tree, you come and reign over us. But the fig tree said to them, should I cease my sweetness and my good fruit, and go to sway over trees? Then the tree said to the vine, you come and reign over us. But the vine said to them, should I cease my new wine, which cheers both God and men, and go to sway over trees? Then all the trees said to the bramble, you come and reign over us. And the bramble said to the trees, if in truth you anoint me as king over you, then come and take shelter in my shade. How can you take shelter? Never mind. Okay. But if not, let fire come out of the bramble and devour the cedar of Lebanon.
All right. All right, Omar, let's hear it.
Okay.
Okay, if you notice that the one that went to the tree was considered trees.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it appears that Shechem, the people,
Mm-hmm. Are
Is the tree.
Trees.
okay? And we're gonna talk about the,
Olive.
hold on, we're gonna talk about the cedar of Lebanon at the end of 5,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So the people of Shechem, apparently looked like they were looking for a ruler. And they had went to many people Gideon is one of them, and
Mhm.
asked would he rule over them. Now, the trees that the trees that responded to the trees that went to them to be a king looked like they was already doing what they was designed to do, what they was born to do, what they was planted to do. Though they was in the same soil, they was producing different
Fruit.
fruit or oils
Oil.
as God would have them to do. So they didn't want to move from their calling, I guess, or
Mhm.
whatever they was designed to do,
Yes.
and do what the people want. Sometimes we just can't do what the people want. You know, you ever had churches need a pastor and they go out and parade and put an ad in the paper,
Mhm.
say we need a pastor, and they just go and be their pastor. Okay, so eventually they kept looking for something that God didn't want them to have. Because see, maybe the other trees realized that God was their king. And they're looking for a king. We thinking Samuel was the first time they was looking for a king, but we see it here where these people are looking for a king. And the people, the trees or the people that turned them down realize that God is our king.
Mhm.
But they finally found someone who took the bait. And that was what tree?
That was the
The bramble
Bramble
tree.
yes.
Now the other trees produce fruit or oil or something, right? Somebody tell me, what does a bramble tree produce?
Thorns and thickets.
Thorns and thistles, right?
Thistles, yeah. I think
Matter of fact, that's the type of thistles that they put on Christ's head
Mhm.
when they had them thorns on it.
Mhm.
They made a crown out of it. All it do is cause pain.
Mhm.
Okay, you can't even use it for shade. Huh? But they don't know that. This is what Jotham is the parable he's telling on Mount Gershom.
Alice, just like in Samuel, same thing when God told him what would happen. Okay, you say you want a king? Let me tell you what your king gonna do.
Yes, send your men to war and
But see-
enslave your women in the kitchen, right?
See, but they didn't learn anything before that because, like you said, this is way before Samuel. This is
Yes.
way before the first king.
Right.
This is now that fickle brow tree, yeah, that's going to give them shade because he said, "Come and I'll give you shade."
But he can't give shade. Jude say about leaders like in the church, he call them clouds without water.
Water, yes.
Because they're pretty, they're gonna bring rain, and next thing
Mhm.
you know, no rain comes. You know, so this man, Abimelech, he's probably an eloquent speaker, persuaded a lot of people,
Mhm.
and they accept him as their king. Now, huh?
That's what Jotham is telling him. He's not gonna be able to change.
He's telling them that, but he comes back with something too. He kind of tells them, but I don't know if they get it. But the picture I wanna point out here is this type of attitude with the people is not gonna go away.
Mm-mm.
The Antichrist
Mhm.
is gonna wow the people.
Mhm.
They're gonna be looking for a leader. The church is gonna be gone.
It says he's gonna come out of the sea. He's gonna come out of the people.
Yeah, it's gonna come out of the midst of the people. And that's where Abimelech came from, out of the midst of the people. The Antichrist is gonna appear to be good for the people, you know, but he's gonna be an oppressor, you know. And so is this man. And he tells them this in verse 15. Now, read just verse 15.
And the Brahma says to the trees,
The Brahma is saying to the trees who
which is
wants
the
him to be
people,
king, the
or
people, okay?
if in trust you anoint me, in truth you anoint me as king over you, if you do this for me, okay,
Uh-huh.
then come and take shelter in my shade.
Okay. In other words, obey me. Obey me. Go
Mhm.
ahead. But if not,
But if not,
if you don't obey me,
let fire come out of the Brahma
out of the Brahma, you got it? Fire come from Abimelech.
and devour the cedar of
The
Lebanon.
cedar of cedars.
Cedars of Lebanon.
You know why they use cedars? Cedar's a tall tree
Mm-hmm.
and it's strong.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's stronger than all the other trees. All those men put together are strong. Now, check this out. The Brahma tree is good for nothing. If it catches on fire, it catches all the other trees
It's
on fire.
yes.
Got it? The cedar tree also could be used for good firewood. So they kind of catch each other on fire. And we're going to see that's going to play out because he's going to be after the people and the people are going to be after him. So he, at the end of this parable, he kind of sums it up with a mini parable. And what he says here happens. So we got the parable now? Okay. Anybody got any questions on the parable? Abimelech has nothing to offer, and that's what Jotham is saying in this parable.
He's a worthless man.
And he hired reckless people.
Hey, Al,
Yes.
Mhm.
I know you probably, fig tree. Did you touch on that?
The olive tree or the fig tree?
Fig.
No, go ahead.
Verse 10, go ahead. Verse 10.
I just covered all the trees together because you told me to sum it up. I was just talking about what the trees produce, good, figs, oil, whatever. So I just covered them all together. And basically, I just pointed out how they went to different individuals and wanted a ruler. And eventually they found one that wouldn't do them any good.
Okay, and you know, we're gonna talk about the olive tree, but the fig tree in the analogy. The tree said to the fig tree. Go ahead, it's okay.
You sure?
Yeah,
You talking about the one that you
We got
see-
time?
yeah, no, you can go ahead.
Okay. And so the picture we see here is they was turned down between three people they approach, or three men they approach, and the one took it. Okay? God was their king. God was their ruler.
Rejected.
Then they rejected him. Okay, verse 19 through 21. Let's do this here. Let's just read 16 through 18, just to kind of go through it, and then we'll jump in. Let me read it. Now, therefore, if you have dealt in truth and integrity, and this is what he tells them, okay? After you get through talking to them, this is still Jotham talking. Watch what he does here. Therefore, if you have dealt in truth and integrity in making Abimelech king, you know, we know they hadn't did that, right?
Mhm.
And make a king. And if you have dealt well with Jerubbaal or is a Gideon and his house,
Mhm.
and have dealt with him as he deserved, for my father fought for you and risked his life and delivered you from the hands of the Median. Talking about Gideon, okay? But you have risen against my father's house today and have killed his sons, 70 men on one stone, and have made Abimelech the son of his maidservant, king over the men of Shechem, because he is your relative. Look at verse 18, where it says they killed him on one stone. You see
Mhm.
that? You remember the men that he hired to work, the reckless fellows?
Mhm.
Okay, so he got his posse. He went to his father's house, Gideon's area, his hometown. And it seemed like it was a mass slaughter. They got these guys and they lined them up. I'm just kind of painting a picture for you here. He said one stone. This may have been the altar that Gideon built. And they took them in one by one, or however they did it, and they slaughtered them until they slaughtered all 70 of them. It was like a mass execution. That's what it meant when it says they killed them up on one stone. Okay? You live by the sword, you die by the sword, right? We read the story, we see how Abimelech died, right? Okay.
And Al, it's interesting. I just want to throw this in there. It's interesting that we keep making reference to the fact that God was, or he was the king over these people.
Mhm.
They never needed a king, whether you talk about Samuel or even Judges. God, it's the nature of mankind. But at verse number in Judges 9, right, verse number 6, when it said, not only did they make Abimelech king in verse number 9, brothers and sisters, they made Abimelech the king by the oak of the pillar,
Right.
which was in Shechem.
Mhm.
The reason why that's interesting is because a little earlier, if you look at Joshua, just real quick, Joshua 24, remember this place, that's where they made him king at. That was
Mhm.
wrong to make him king anyway. but they actually made him king by the oak of the pillar. But in Joshua, if we just go back, like just one book, right?
What chapter?
24.
Okay.
I just want to, because it's all these same truths are all over the scriptures, but God, he constantly puts it in our minds so we can see it. Joshua 24, if you go down, I think I'm gonna go to verse number 19. That's just to make it
Should be
short.
26.
Joshua 24:19, right? He says, then Joshua said to the people, Joshua 24:19, you will not be able to serve the Lord, for he is a holy God. He is a jealous God. He will not forgive your transgression or your sins. If you forsake the Lord and serve foreign gods, then he will turn and do you harm and consume you after he has done good to you. Then the people said to Joshua, no, but we will serve the Lord. Joshua said to the people, you are witnesses against yourselves that you have chosen for yourselves the Lord, not nobody else, to serve him. And they said, we are witnesses. Now, therefore, put away the foreign gods which are in your midst and incline your hearts to the Lord God of Israel. The people said to Joshua, we will serve the Lord our God and we will obey his voice. Now, look at this. So Joshua made a covenant with the people that day and made them a statute and an ordinance in Shechem, the same place where they pledged their allegiance to God as king is the same place they made Abimelech king.
Mm-hmm.
And I just
Yep, and
thought-
Shechem.
Shechem.
You did say they put a copy of the law there.
Yeah,
So
the word.
yeah,
right?
yeah,
The
the word
word,
right
yeah.
there.
He
They
made
wrote copy.
he made a covenant with the people that day and made for them a statute and an ordinance. God's word. And Joshua wrote these words in the book of the law of God. And he took a large stone and set it up there under the oak that was by the sanctuary of the Lord. The same place.
And
where
remember,
they pledged-
Shechem is where Abimelech went to be ruler. So it's not the whole Israel, it's that area. Very good, very good. Verse 22 to 23. Did we read all the way down to 21? Because Jotham eventually, after he got through talking, he had to run. Okay, let's go verse 19 to 21. Then we go to 22. If then you have dealt in truth and in integrity with Jerubbaal and his house this day, rejoice in Abimelech and let him also rejoice, which we know that's a no. They didn't. But if not, let fire come out from Abimelech and consume the men of Shechem and Beth Mello, and let fire come from the men of Shechem. You see that how he did that?
Mhm.
Huh?
Yeah.
He gonna kill them and they gonna kill him. From the men of Shechem, from Beth Mello, and consume Abimelech. Actually, he's prophesying here.
Right, right.
Okay? Because remember, we went to verse 15 and we saw what the Brimmer did to the cedar. Okay? Verse 21, then Joshua escaped and fled and went to Beer and remained there because of Abimelech, his brother. Now we can read 22 and 23.
Now Abimelech ruled over Israel 3 years. Then God sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the men of Shechem, and the men of Shechem dealt treacherously with Abimelech, so that the violence done to the 70 sons of Jerubbaal might come, and their blood might be laid on Abimelech, their brother, who killed them, and on the men of Shechem, who strengthened his hands to kill his brothers.
Go ahead and read your 5.
The men of Shechem set men in ambush against him on the tops of the mountains, and they robbed all who might pass by them along the road, and it was told to Abimelech.
Now Shechem then turned. Now I'm gonna tell you what the Lord did here. He sent an evil spirit.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say he sent Satan. But notice, he didn't send like a division. He just sent an evil spirit. The people just start fighting against each other. You know, as we see today, why they fight? I don't know. They just fight. But he sends an evil spirit to cause them to be against Abimelech. So they're terrorists now. And then he's going to do the same thing from Abimelech to them. Remember we was talking about how they're going to burn each other?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is how they burn each other. Now they got infighting among themselves. They fighting against the king they appointed, and then the king is gonna retaliate and fight against them. But the thing about it is, they think they're doing this on their own. But the scripture says, make sure I'm reading it right here. God sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the men of Shechem. The evil man's heart is in the hand of God. You know, he did something like this in Gideon when he had them fighting each other.
Mhm.
You know, but they was confused. You know, they didn't know who was who. These people know who is who. And how God unraveled this in their heart to where Abimelech hadn't really done it. He's still a favor, but somehow God and his infinite wisdom caused them to want to fight against him. Caused them to kill each other. So, verse 26.
Now Gaul the son of Ebed came with his brothers and went over to Shechem, and the men of Shechem put their confidence in him.
Okay, now stop right there.
Their confidence.
In verse 25, it said they robbed all that might pass by along the road, right?
Mhm.
Now, when we get to verse 26, there's a new name there. This man here might have had something to do with that. They had planned to rob Abimelech as he passed through there, but he's the king. So now they're causing chaos. And anybody who might be working with Abimelech or anybody in the city, maybe, they was robbing as they passed through. And if Abimelech would have came through, they'd have probably tried to rob and kill him. It says, then, verse 25, then the men of Shechem set men in ambush against him, Abimelech, on top of the mountain, and they robbed all who might pass by them along the road. And it was told to Abimelech. Then we got a new sheriff in town.
Mhm.
Verse 26.
You want to read it again?
Yeah.
Now Gaul the son of Ebed came with his brothers, went over to Shechem, I'm sorry, and the men of Shechem put their confidence in him. 27. So they went on out into the field, gathered grapes from their vineyard, and strove them,
Okay.
and made merry. And they went into the house of their God,
Mhm.
and ate and drank and cursed Abimelech.
So now the man Gaul sees an opportunity. He's just like Abimelech. He see that there's chaos. They put their confidence in him. And they see there's an opportunity because they don't care much about Abimelech. It's like the president election, right? If you don't like Biden and, just throwing the name of this as the president, and he's done real bad, then it's a good opportunity for you to run for president too. So Abimelech has done real bad. They're out to kill him. Gaul probably a part of this posse here, so he sees an opportunity. He's gonna win the people's heart over. Okay. Now
They're the fun
it
part.
seems like they throws a party, right?
Mhm,
In verse 27.
mhm.
So they throw a party, and at this party they get careless. Gaul is at this party. All the people Shechem is at this party. They gather grapes. They get drunk, and they get to running their mouths.
Oh, yes. Alcohol bravery.
Verse 28 and 29.
Mm. Then Gaul the son of Ebed said, who is Abimelech and who is Shechem, that we should serve him? Is he not the son of Jerubbaal? Jerubbaal?
You could say Gideon when you come to the
Gideon.
name. Yeah.
Yeah, I got troubles today. Is he not Zuba, the officer? Serve the men of Harmah, the son of Shechem. But why should we serve him? If only these people were under my authority.
This is God talking here. God, he is no better than Abimelech. If only they was under my authority, things would be better.
Then I would remove Abimelech. So he said to Abimelech, increase your army and come out.
He probably
And
sent
play.
men to do that. Now, look at verse 28. You see the name Ziba there?
Mm-hmm.
Who is he? Okay, let me read it again.
Not Zuba,
Verse 28. Then God, the son of Ebal, said, who is Abimelech and who is Shechem, that we should serve him? Is he not the son of Jerubbaal? And is Ziba not his lieutenant? Got it? Ziba is at the party. They didn't got drunk. They got to run their mouth. Ziba is Abimelech's lieutenant. Guess what he goes and do now?
Go tell.
You talk about the elephant in the room, make sure the one who riding him is not in there. So, you talk about the elephant who's not in the room. So Ziba goes back and he tells
Okay. Verse 30.
Abimelech, go ahead.
When Ziba, the ruler of the city, heard the words of Gabe.
Okay,
Ziba.
rule of the city, right?
Yep.
So Abimelech is not basically ruling in the city. Abimelech has got Ziba, his lieutenant,
Mm-hmm.
like the vice president in the city. Okay, so here's the rule. Now go ahead, read.
Heard the word of God, the son of Ebed. His anger was arose, and he sent messengers to Abimelech secretly, saying, "Take note, God, the son of Ebed, and his brothers here come to Shem. I can't deal with that one. Shechem, and here they are fortifying the city against you. Now, therefore, get up by night, you and the people who are with you, and lie in wait in the field, ambush. And it shall be as soon as the sun is up in the morning, that you shall rise early and rush him to the city. And when he and the people who are with him come out against you, you may then do to them as you find opportunity."
What verse you end at?
I ended up at 33.
Okay, go ahead and read all the way down to 35.
So Abimelech and all the people who were with him rose by night and laid to wait against Shechem in four companies.
Read
When
35.
God,
Good.
when God, the son of Ebed,
Ebed.
went out and stood in the entrance to the city gate, Abimelech and the people who were with him rose from lying in wait. And when God saw the
Okay, you
people,
can stop right there. Okay, so now, you got Abimelech
Mhm.
has been well informed because his lieutenant told him. Gaul don't know that the lieutenant when he told him, but Ziba is standing with Gaul
Mhm.
as if he's with him. Okay, because he's the captain over ship. So he's standing there with Gaul, and he's the only one who knows both sides.
Double spy.
Yeah. Yeah. Know who they were among, yeah.
Both hands.
So, yeah. Yeah, I got drunk that night.
He's drinking and he throw his head in the flower pot, act like he's drinking.
So they decided to go out, just stand out in the morning, because they getting ready to, to win this city over their thing. Okay? Now God, like I say, he's just as deceptive. Verse 36 and 38.
When God saw the people, when God saw the people, he said to Ziba, "Look, people are coming down from the top of the mountain." But Ziba said to him, "You see the shadows of the mountain as if they were men." So God spoke again and said, "See, people are coming down from the center of the land. Another company is coming from the diviners and terebinth trees." Then Ziba said to him, "Where indeed is your mouth now,
See?
with which you said, Who is Amalek, that we should serve him? Are not these the people whom you despise?
So now,
Go out if you will. and
God
fight."
is standing there saying, is that people coming down now? And Ziba said, no,
It's the shadow of the
those
mountain.
are the shadows of the mountain.
Being drunk the next day.
No, now,
Ziba
Ziba
knew.
knew
He knew what was going on.
those were people coming.
He's drinking in the bushes while the rest of them.
Yeah, but he's got
Go.
God thinking in other words, he's buying time for Abimelech. He's buying time for him. And Abimelech trusts, yeah, and God trusted him. So he's thinking, maybe I'm not seeing people come down the mountain. So the guy, yeah, no, you're not. Then when they get close, what do you say? Where's your big mouth now? All that talk you was doing last night, where's your mouth now?
So the ambushers became the ambush.
Yes, sir.
Mm.
You caught him in a bad way. Now we're gonna see in verse 40 and 41 that Abimelech is angry now. You trying to kill me? And I'm the king? He ain't trusting nobody. Verse 40 and 41.
Abimelech chased him, and he fled before him, and many fell wounded up to the entrance of the gate. Then Abimelech remained at Arumah, but Zebul drove out Gal and his relatives, so that they could not remain in Shechem.
Okay, so he's angry now. He's on a rampage. Like any of us would be if we found out somebody was trying to kill us. We ain't trusting nobody. That's Abimelech now. Remember we read about the parable earlier about the Lebanon and the cedar? And I said, if you don't obey me, fire will come out from him. That's what he's doing now. And so when we get to verse 41, which says, now it came about the next day that the people went out to the field and it was told to Abimelech. So they get the next day, they're going to work. Nothing happens. They know what happened, but they're going back to work like everything is okay. But everything is not okay. You ever seen somebody throw a rock and hide their hands? But that's what the people's doing the next day. They're going out there like nothing happened. They think it's all over. But you remember, Abimelech is hot. Verse 42 says, now it came about the next day that the people went out to the field, and it was told to Abimelech. So he knows that they are there. Verse 43 to 45. So he took his people and divided them into three companies, Abimelech, and laid in wait in the field. And when he looked and saw the people coming out from the city, he rose up against them and slew them. These are the other people of the city. Then Abimelech and the companies who was with him dashed forward and stood in the entrance of the gate. The other two companies then dashed against all who were in the field and slew them. So he's killing all these people now. Verse 45, Abimelech fought against the city and all that day, and he captured the city and killed the people who were in it. Then he raised the city and sold it with salt. What did that mean? He sold it with salt.
He demolished it.
So what? He demolished
Man,
it.
it's it.
When you sow a field with salt, he didn't literally sow it with salt because it wouldn't have grew anything.
No,
But he demolished it in a way, like he said, where it'll never be built again.
Yes.
That's what it means, sowed it with salt.
Mhm.
But of course, it was built again. So he must have ravished it something terrible that was in his mind. This city will never be built again. These people never do this to me again.
And in Kings, that's when they rebuilt it anyway. So
Right.
under Jeroboam.
Okay. But he didn't get them all.
Mm-mm.
Verse 46. When all the leaders of the temple of El-Berit, okay, it was told to Abimelech that all the leaders of the tower of Shechem were gathered together. So Abimelech went up to Mount Salmon, he and all the people who were with him, and Abimelech took an axe in his hand and cut down and lifted it and laid it on his shoulder. Then he said to the other men who were with him, what you have seen me do, hurry and do likewise. Y'all know what he's gonna do? He's gonna burn that tower down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is he gonna be surprised?
Read verse 49 and 50.
So each of the people likewise cut down their own bronze and followed Abimelech, but then put them against the stronghold and set the stronghold on fire above them, so that all the people of the tower of Shechem died, about 1,000 men and women. Then Abimelech went to deep
Read on down to 55. Go ahead.
the bed, and he
Tebes.
Tibez, and he encamped against
Tebes.
Tibez and took it. But there was a strong tower in the city, and all the men and women, all the people of the city fled there and shut themselves in. Then they went up to the top of the tower. So Abimelech came as far as the tower and fought against it, and he drew near the door of the tower and burnt it with fire. But a certain woman, here it comes,
Mhm.
a certain woman, I lost my track, dropped an upper millstone on Abimelech's head and crushed his skull. A little headache.
Andy, what's wrong with that picture?
Well, it was dishonorable to be killed by a woman.
Well, I got to get to that verse now. Go ahead.
Well, we gotta let the man, he ain't
Go
sitting
and
there
talk.
all night.
Go and talk, bro.
Let the man talk.
One of the things you have to ask is why has he got a millstone up on top of the tower?
Okay,
Okay,
Why?
don't know. I would rather say
what is that millstone used for?
grinding grain.
Sometimes they'd be that small, right?
Be a small one on top of big one.
Yeah.
For small grain, you
Right.
know, small.
So she can lift it, they probably was
About
up there
5
grinding,
pounds, whatever.
the wind can catch the wheat, throw it in there maybe.
And they was fleeing, so they went to the roof.
Yeah, but then here, that millstone was probably already up there, like he's saying.
Yeah. Anything out there you can throw down. One that
But she gave him a headache. Go ahead, Andy.
But anyway,
And like I say, it was a sin or a dishonorable to be killed by a youngster or a woman.
because they wasn't military people.
Right.
They wasn't warriors. You was killed, you're a warrior, and you was killed by somebody who's, not a warrior. It's kind of like a man going to battle in Vietnam, makes it through 3 tours and come back here and get shot by a kid. It just doesn't fit right. You done been to war 3 times and made it, so many strong arm kids, and you come out here and get shot by a kid. Yeah, it happens. Yeah. It happened here.
Mm.
And they was at war
Mhm.
and he got killed by a woman.
Mm.
Now I'm gonna show you just how depraved man is.
You would-
Go ahead and finish reading.
Okay, I'll start 33 again. But a certain woman dropped the upper millstone. It says the upper millstone, which is a small one, on Abimelech's
Abimelech.
head and crushed his skull. Then he called quickly to the young man, his armor bearer, and said to him, "Draw your sword and kill me, lest men say of me, a woman killed him." So his young man thrust him through, and he died. And when the men of Israel saw that Abimelech was dead, they departed, every man to his place.
War's over, let's go home. The leaders that keep the mess going. Oh, we ain't gotta do this anymore. Let's go home. Wash your hands of it. But he is so depraved that instead of him, he's so depraved, he's dying and he's worried about what men think of him.
His legacy.
Yeah. That's just how depraved man is. He's so depraved, he's not even thinking about God. Dude, you couldn't leave this earth.
Rich man said, hey, said Lazarus. He's still a servant in his mind, remember?
Yeah, you dying and you asking your servant to kill you. Well, what happened in Revelation 6:12 when they saw the Lord? These are unsaved people.
Mhm.
Let the rocks fall on us and hide us from him who sits on the throne. He's saying, because a woman did this, I'm about to die, kill me. Now, even though he did that, David didn't see that when he got ready to get rid of Uriah. Let's go to 2 Samuel 11:21. Let's see what David think about this debt.
2
2 Samuel 11:21. Now, let me tell you the story about this. Everybody heard of Bathsheba, right?
Oh, yeah.
What was her husband's name? Uriah.
Mhm.
Okay, he sent Uriah to war. Well, at first he sent him to come from the war, hoping he would sleep with Bathsheba, who was his wife, because David had got Bathsheba pregnant. And if he can get Uriah to sleep with Bathsheba, then Uriah would think it's his baby. But when Uriah came home, you read this story, Andy? You have? Yeah, because I forgot it. What's the rest of it?
Uriah didn't sleep with him.
Uriah didn't sleep with him because his man was at war and he didn't think it was right. So David sent him back the next night, right? And said, and he found out he didn't. So when he found out that he didn't sleep with his wife, he wrote a letter to his commander. And the letter was about Uriah, but he gave a letter to Uriah to take and give to the commander. And the letter said, when the war starts, back away and let Uriah get killed. So Uriah carried his death sentence back to the war. So now when we go to Samuel, David makes this statement as if he was really concerned, but all he wants is some information. And the commander sends the information back by the message. Y'all got the picture there? Okay, so now David mentions what we just got through reading in Judges. But look how David sees the death of Abimelech. Because in my mind, even though that you had that guy stab you and kill you, I kind of see it like David did. Okay, y'all got 2 Samuel 11:21? Now y'all can go up and read the rest of the passages when you get home tonight.
Verse 21, you said?
Yeah, I think it's verse 21. Let me get there.
Yeah, verse 21.
Hold on. Is it verse 21?
Yeah, we agree with you, verse 21.
Now, Peter, I think it's got Samuel, right? Yeah, he's gonna cover this more in detail. I know we've been in Samuel, but he's gonna cover it in more detail. Okay. Let's see. I'll tell you, let's start at verse 17, because this is when they're in war. Okay. Go ahead. Verse 17 and then 21 is what we want to look at. Go ahead.
Then the men of the city came out and fought with Joab. And some of the people of the servant of David fell. Uriah the Hittite died also. Then Joab said and told David all the things concerning war. Charged the messenger, saying, when you have finished telling the matter of the war to the king, if it happens that the king's wrath rise, and he said to you, why did you approach so near to the city when you fought? Did you not know that they would shoot from the wall? Who struck Abimelech, the son of Jeroboam?
Got it?
Was it not a woman who cast a piece of millstone on him from the wall so that he died in Tabiz? Why did you go near the wall? Then you shall say, your servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also.
That's all David wanted to hear. That's all David wanted to hear. He wanted that message to come back and let him know when Uriah had died. It's kind of like a play on words. He send the message back, and all I want to hear from that message is Uriah was still alive. He acted like it was real light when the other men got killed, you know. And then when Peter gets to this, you'll find out that he hears from his Nathan, I think it is. Nathan tells him a parable about a man with his own ewe lamb. So we see in the book of Judges, we got the same repeated stuff. We got different judges. We got the same disobedience. We got the same not trusting. We got the same crying out to God. It's just different times, different leaders, different generation, the same thing. And like I said, when we got through with Gideon, it just gets worse. It just goes downhill continually. And the only difference between there and then is technology has moved us forward, you know, and they're able to get more and more entrenched in the sin. Anybody got any questions about Judges chapter 9? Be careful how you choose your leaders. There's nothing wrong with ambition, as long as God is bringing that ambition about. You know, be aware of men and women who wants to be in front, who wants a name for themselves. You know, whenever leaders are put in charge, it's important that the whole church body pray. We all be on one accord. You know, church leadership does not come by longevity. Church offices doesn't come by longevity. It's always should be somebody who God puts in office. Guaranteed, if it's done out of emotions, it's going to be similar to what we saw in Judges chapter 9. It's going to be a reckless situation. Okay. All right. So from here on, we're going to go from Judges 13 to 16, and we'll be through with Judges. I encourage you to read the rest of it on your own. Okay.